Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast, where every week Danny and Maura Vega discuss topics that help families live a healthy and active lifestyle with their little ones, including nutrition and training, peaceful parenting, education, and mindset. To stay up to date, make sure to hit subscribe on this podcast and check out the blog at www.fatfueled.family. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at dannyvega.ms, at fatfueledmom, and at fatfueledkids, and Fat Fueled Family on YouTube. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast. I'm your host, Danny, and I'm here with my little chinchilla.
The jacket that I need. I need I need another one. Should have got the other color. The jacket I'm wearing. It's called a Sherpa.
Yeah, but you're my little chinchilla.
Did you touch it?
Yeah, it's super soft.
It's so soft, right?
Yeah.
It does feel like chinchilla.
I love it. So, today we spoke with Kevin and Sadena Escobar.
Amazing.
Yeah. And how awesome was it that Sadena was kind of like a little bit, nervous, but I feel like they were both, this is their first podcast, and I think they crushed it.
Oh, they did amazing. Yeah. You would never know it was their first podcast.
Yeah. We had some really good conversations. They have, when I get into this intro, you guys will see their pedigree and their family history is super cool. We got a lot of stories from that.
And for those who are loyal listeners who've been here from the beginning, you might find this interesting. So the way that this is why relationships are so important, guys. You guys have to focus on your relationships, building those relationships, asking questions, asking your friends who they know. So one of my best friends, Megan Rogers, she's been on this show before with her daughter Riley. She's actually known them forever.
Since high school.
Since high school.
Since she was in high school.
Yeah, she tagged me one day on a post on Facebook, and it must have been in my plan of my destiny of my life, because I never check Facebook.
Yeah, me either.
I'm actually better on these days on Facebook, but it was a post saying that there was this rancher locally selling this prime. What is it that he calls that ground beef? It's like prime.
Are you talking about the premium? The
premium ground beef, and it was $6.99 a pound. And I was like, give me 20 pounds. What can I say?
Yeah.
So I asked Danny, I'm like, Danny, how much should we get? He's like, 20 pounds? I'm like, sounds good. Let's go. And then the rest is history,
That's so true. I just was like, 20.
So then I drove out there. I drove out there originally.
Yeah.
Wesley Chapel, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Pasture and just land that they have over there. And then Danny got to see it the next time, and he took some videos. So if you guys want to see that, you can go to his Instagram and check out.
Yeah, I've been several times. Yeah, go to the IGTV, because IGTV, I've done a few IGTVs there. So I have way less IGTVs than all the other nonsense that I post.
Yeah.
And all the memes. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about them. So they're E-Bar Cattle Company, and this was born from a husband and wife's intention to honor their combined ranching heritage and rediscover what those who came before them knew about raising cattle. Their families, Escobar and Pearce, share a considerable and extensive history in the cattle industry in both Florida and Cuba that stretches back many generations. These early pioneers of the industry raised their cattle from birth to harvest on the rich native grasses of Florida and Cuba. And it's kind of crazy how I always find my fellow Cuban Americans, no matter where I am.
I love my Cubans.
But I think they were onto something. In a world where things have gotten complicated, especially where our food is concerned, they seek to simplify what it means to bring quality grass-fed, pasture-raised beef to you all. Their mission is to honor their heritage, faith, land, and others through their Florida grass-fed beef. And beyond their amazing story, it is some of the best beef I've ever had. We also have a Fat Fueled Family bundle on their website, which is ebarcattlecompany.com. So definitely check it out and use Fat Fueled Fam at checkout to save some cash. And you can use that code for anything they have on there. It's amazing. What else? Anything about the episode?
It was an amazing episode.
Yeah.
I'm not, just digging into that history. I'm not typically a history girl, but at the same time, I might be. It's just schools make everything horrible. So I wasn't a history person when it
was forced down your throat.
They were forcing it in schools. But I love, digging, especially when it comes to Cuba. It's just so interesting to hear their stories and Pretty wild what happened over there. But it was just, I love that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, guys. So you're going to enjoy this one. We hope you love it. Check it out. Let us know. Give us some feedback. Give us a nice 5-star rating and review. And hope you enjoy it. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to take a quick minute to talk about our sponsor, Keto Brick. As you guys know, I have been around since the very beginning when it was just an idea, when Robert was getting ready for the show that took him pro, and he needed something to help him hit his macros. And I've seen it grow into the company it is today. Just so proud of my friend, and I'm so proud of the company he's built, the people he's been able to help, as he has several people who work for them. And so he's actually helping people make a living doing this now, which is just unbelievable and so inspirational to me. If you don't know what Keto Bricks are, they are shelf-stable fat bombs, for lack of a better term. They are 1,000 calorie bricks, and they have great ingredients. They have ketogenic macros, usually like 88 to 90 grams of fat with 30 grams of protein. And then the carbs are anywhere from 9 to 14. Super low carb, super keto friendly, and you can do all types of cool stuff with them. I tell everybody my favorite is Keto Brick cereal. I chop it up into little chunks and serve it with a bowl of cereal with almond milk or goat milk, which is my favorite. They have several flavors. They now have vegan and whey options. So they have the whey protein peanut butter as well as the old school pea protein peanut butter, which either one of them is easily in my top 2. Go back and forth between those and the toasted almond coconut. So definitely go to www.ketobrick.com, get yourself some bricks, and use Vega for a chance to win a whole month supply of bricks. What's up, guys?
Hi. Hey, how are
How's it
you?
going?
Thanks for being here. We're super excited to chat.
Well, we're honored to have this time to talk with you.
Awesome. Well, let's get right to the conversation. We have so many good things that we want you guys to educate our audience on today, but we always lead with the question, what is the most critical problem that you are currently trying to solve?
Oh, okay. Balancing family and work.
Wow, me too.
Because we really kind of like, yeah, you get me, right? We really merge the two a lot because our little girl, she's 2.5, and she goes with us and does everything pretty much that we do. But, there's still a lot of work that has to be done after hours and between naps and after work and, the whole thing. So it's really just keeping that balance, finding that balance, and, really putting everything we have into what our dreams are and what our goals are. And it's for her too, for her future as well. So, but, just making sure that that's balanced, and it's tough. It's tough sometimes. So
We go through this daily.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is something we just go through as parents. I feel like we'll never feel like it's good enough. We're always just like our own worst critics. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because what you're saying is like you know that there's an amount of work that needs to be done to really give her the best life that you can give her. And at the same time, you're feeling like, I don't want to waste time with my child. And like, for example, today, we did something that inconvenienced me and really inconvenienced her because Fridays are crazy for her. And my friends showed up here at 8 a.m. today because, their kids and my kids, like, they're really good friends. And I knew that it would be good for the kids because I knew how busy today was going to be. And so these kids have been playing all day. They couldn't care less about me or her right now.
Yeah.
And then we have these recordings and we have all this stuff. And then we have Bible study at their house. And then the kids are actually going to sleep over. So that's actually kind of cool because then me and her could just chill and actually like sit on the couch and just relax.
And watch whatever we want to watch.
Yes, exactly. We can watch TVMA stuff.
Exactly. Because all we watch now is Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we watch.
Which we love. I mean, we love it because everything on the TV now is it's garbage. So it's like it's unacceptable. So for these kiddos, so I'm like, let's keep it wholesome. So many good lessons. But I love that you said that, and it is a balance. But it's also a beautiful thing for her to learn these lessons. It's so important, especially now with the way things are going. And we're going to get into these things, but it's so important to these lessons, like just even death, right? Like just what you have to go through on the farm, and
like
just connecting them to the food.
I mean, she is learning things that I have encountered some adults out in public that don't know or understand. And it's like, we have spring calves on the ground right now. And she knows a mommy cow has udders, and the baby calves drink milk from the udders. And that's how you know it's a cow, because it's got udders. And like she's learning all this stuff, and we don't hide things from her. She needs to understand this is how things work. And so she's like fully absorbed when we're around cows. Like she is just all about it. She talks about them all the time. She knows all of her cow breeds. Like she knows.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
She's
so cute.
Like, this is a Charlet. This is an Angus. This is Beefmaster. I'm like, oh my gosh. So,
I love that.
I love that. That is so
That's
cool.
like our kids with nutrition. Like they hear so much. We have conversations with each other. We have them with them. And like we had someone on yesterday who his father was a financial advisor. His mother was a teacher. And, like what he mentioned is that you plant these seeds that may or may not sprout later. Like obviously they sprouted for both of you with your backgrounds, which we'll get into. But like, it's not to say that, we'd be disappointed if they don't choose our same line of work, but it's super cool if they do, because they have this knowledge that's like way beyond like spending a year even, what do you call it, when you apprentice at a farm? Or
because this is like life experience.
This is like a lot of exposure.
Yeah. For life.
So what about you, Kevin? You I don't want to let you off the hook. Is there anything in particular, if it's any different than what she said?
Well, what she said really is I think the forefront of what we struggle with the most. There's an old saying with farming and ranching within that community that says, you never finish, you just find a good place to stop and you pick back up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're never done. So always a struggle, like, okay, where can I stop? And for me, I'm so driven to try to, succeed. I've always taken pride in my work ethic, and so sometimes when I feel like I'm slowing down to stop and try to shift gears, you almost kind of get a little bit of a guilt trip, like you're not putting in all
as much effort
as you should. So that is it's been what I have been struggling with for really since Dayla was born, and it's been a family challenge and dynamic to figure out that balance, and for us to each have what we need in terms of support and time to get the job done, but you still have to have that.
Time is the most precious commodity.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And when it comes to the kids, it really just
say time is the new currency, and that really it's very true. If you think about, people are willing to pay money to have something that's convenient for them, whether that's shipping directly to the door that they don't have to go out and buy. They'll spend the extra money for it, So time has become the new currency.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like you think about, there are so many things being placed, and especially in the children's lives, that their sole purpose is to waste their time.
Waste their time.
Like you look at what happens in schools, they're not doing anything. There's no more doing. There's all sit down, listen to what I say, parrot it back to me. There's not even the art of conversation. What they used to call in the classical education rhetoric. There's no rhetoric. And there's none of that. So like, all of these things like the electronics and all these things are being placed in their lives, which is just a pain in the butt. But like, I can guarantee you, no matter what happens, like obviously you guys gotta be, you gotta communicate. That's what we're always doing. But I can guarantee you that, if she's with you, even if it's working or even if she's just around for a lot of this, like that is going to be
That is so much better than like sitting on a tablet.
Yeah, like so much better than anything
Just
else.
out on the farm.
Yeah, like it just is. Yeah.
Well, her chores in the morning, she goes out with me. Like I'm a stay-at-home mom with her during the day, and our first thing we do in the morning is we go outside and feed the horses. So she
Oh,
helps
that's amazing.
the horses, she carries the feed, she dumps everything, does it. During the winter, she was like, "I get them hay." She goes and gets some hay and brings hay to them, and then
that's so sweet.
she feeds the dogs in the morning. Then she has to feed her kitty. So she takes care of her animals. And plays in the water trough and all that too. But yeah,
of course.
Good, build their immune system. Good.
Yes, yeah, we're not scared of the dirt.
Yes.
I love it.
And you're getting the best because you're getting the microbiome that's available in your area, which is what you need. You need all of those little critters that feed the soil and all of those. The minute you touch it, your genetics are interacting with it, which is unbelievable. Like we're these skin suits that are full of colonies. We're just like a group of colonies of different cells that interact with everything. It's really cool the way
it is pretty cool.
Made it. So I want to start with you, Sadena, because you guys both come from ranching backgrounds. So we got the Pearce family, we got the Escobar family. And so tell us all about your experience growing up. Where did you guys do it? And what made you decide that you wanted to continue doing this?
Okay, so I was born technically in Arcadia. I grew up in Venus, Florida, not Venice, Venus, like the planet.
Oh, I didn't know this. So wait, Venus is different than Venice, or is it the same one?
Venice is like a big place. Venus is like nowhere.
Okay.
Where is Venus?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Where is it?
It is south central Florida. So if you've ever heard of Lake Placid or Sebring,
it's
in that general area, but like, yeah, it's the road everybody takes to get through to go to Miami, basically.
We've done retreats there at Lake Placid, that area.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a lot of ranches in Arcadia, right?
Yeah. So Venus is about 20 minutes from Lake Placid out. So it takes about 20 minutes to get to a gas station, and there's nothing more out there than there used to be, but there is literally nothing. Some churches.
The only reason why it's still a they call it a municipality, is that the word?
Don't know.
There's a post office.
That's a requirement that it meets.
It meets the requirement.
Otherwise, it's called Lake Placid.
Yeah, but
because it's small.
So that's where most of my family is buried, and that's where my dad was born there, and so was my mom. My mom's family had moved there as well. So my mom and dad actually grew up together in Venus, and they obviously got married, had me, and then I spent the first half of my childhood there. My granny was there, my papa, and an extended family, so that was awesome. And my papa was more of a farmer, my dad's dad, and he could grow anything. I mean, anything. His passion wasn't as much for the cows. His dad and his dad's dad. So I'm sixth generation. Our daughter will be seventh, and so my dad really has a passion for the ranching, and so he tried to carry that on. We had almost 100,000 acres at one point. Our family held, and now that's all gone. But we do know people that own parts of that ranch to this day. So we've been able to go back and revisit that history, and it's just it was such a blessing to be able to see that and experience that, because I'm a generation removed from that, so I still have this passion for it, but just don't have the physical assets. And you understand that coming from, Cuba, that whole situation, you understand what that means, to be a generation removed from all of that, property and all of the physical material things, but you still have your heritage, that's still what is important. So, that's.
And the Pearce family, her ancestors are one of the first original
Settlers.
settlers
Yeah.
of
Oh,
Florida.
wow.
They brought cattle to the state of Florida.
Yeah, from Georgia.
Yeah. So we just kind of
Wow.
like North Carolina to Georgia, and then down from Georgia to the Kissimmee River Valley, which is where we basically they headquartered and brought all the cattle, and then the Pierce family kind of spread out from there. There's so many branches of the family. A lot of them still are in the cattle industry. Have made significant contributions over the years. So it's even and the Pierce Lockett. She also is another branch of the family. So there's just a lot of history in Florida with our family. So it's pretty awesome. But at the same time, you have to make your own way too. So we kind of started from scratch in a lot of ways. We have our heritage, but we've started from scratch. That makes sense at all?
Yeah.
But Kevin kind of got the same situation really with Cuba. So
Well, and I'll say for anyone who doesn't know where Kissimmee River Valley is, it's Disney. Before Disney was ever there, it was cattle ranching.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
Yeah.
even that long ago. It was what, 82 or 78 or something. It wasn't.
Started buying it up before that for a while before the word got out that that's what they were doing with it. But yeah, like Lake Okeechobee area, and within Venus and Arcadia, kind of in that area is where most of the family land was. So yeah, it's bittersweet.
Any relation to President Pierce or no?
Not that I'm aware of, but honestly, I'm still working on learning more. A lot of the old folks, unfortunately, are gone that could really shed more light on some of the heritage stuff. So I'm trying to like dig up and like really learn more. But you don't appreciate the ability to talk to those people until it's too late. So
Yeah.
still learning, basically.
I love that. I love history and forget it. Family history.
Yeah, family history is-
It's
Yeah.
like you have a
That's
strong
that I'm
connection.
more passionate about.
Because you're like, I don't know this person, but I'm in their lineage. Like,
Yeah, that is very
like
interesting.
that's so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, I can
Oh my
also add to just
Yeah.
talking about the past history stuff. A lot of people think of the cowboy as the Hollywood uh, vision or image, if you will, and think of cowboys being out west. That image really is only taken from a snapshot of about 30 years post Civil War, from in the late 1800s, where there was a huge migration out west. There was large millions head of wild cattle running rampant, and anybody could go that had the guts and moxie go and round them up for free and then ship them for the food supply back east. And that's what everyone thinks of as the cattle drives and all this stuff. The fact of the matter is, where all those millions of heads of wild cattle came from started with Ponce de Leon.
Yeah.
When he came to Florida, he brought the very first cow and the very first horse to America. They're not domestic to America.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that cows. I knew horses weren't. That's crazy.
So 500 years ago this year, 1521, is when Ponce de Leon came and brought the first cow and the first horse.
Wow.
And cattle and horses started in this country, in the state of Florida.
Well, thank God they brought the cattle because all of us killed all the bisons. The Native Americans did. At least the Native Americans used the whole hide and the body and
Yeah.
then the fur trade was just. I hate that I feel this way because I know that it's wrong and I'm not like this. But like I'm obsessed with the buffalo, and I read a book by Stephen Ranella. Kevin Stephen Ranella from
Meat Eater.
Meat Eater TV. Like he's the hunter. He's a great writer too, and millions and millions of buffalo. Like the way a lot of like the Blackfeet Indians up in the Dakotas and stuff, like they would literally scare them off of cliffs, and it would be sometimes there were herds so big that it would take days for them to cross. Like you would just see bison for days, and by the time we did the 1913 commemorative buffalo coin or whatever, we were down to like 200.
Wow.
And now, really, most of what we see here in this country is a breed. It's cow and bison together. Like if you want the real deal, you got to go to Alaska or Canada. And then they got those hunting. You could go buffalo hunting, where you literally pick out your buffalo and you go shoot it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good that we brought the cattle because we lost all the buffalo.
Yeah. So Kevin, your family were ranchers in Cuba, which is of course very interesting for us because we're from Cuba as well. Our family is. Tell us all about that, and any specific stories from there if you've got them, and how long you've been a rancher.
Well, my great grandfather started a ranch late 1800s in Cuba. My
Wow.
grandfather ended up taking over and building on top of that foundation and growing it. It was grown to a 5,000 acre ranch at its height. My grandfather was very innovative, came up with a lot of different ideas to make things happen. Um, you know, Finding water supply options and things like that. There's a story that my dad has told about. There was a pasture that was a large area. There's only one water source. So how do we divide this up for proper pasture management and rotation, but making sure there's enough water. And building a very large. I don't know the dimensions, but my dad says it was very large, circular water tank around this water source, and then cross fenced so that each section
Had
all
access.
came access to that water. So it really is one water source, but the way that the fencing
Put
was
like a
set
cross
up,
in the water source.
it allowed for
Wow.
each individual water source. That's just one example, but they raised cattle primarily, a Brahma influence, had horses, and my grandfather and great grandfather took a lot of pride in their horsemanship and raising good quality horses. Um, you can see pictures today from back then, and naturally over time, things evolve. What we look at today of a particular animal or breed might look different from back then. And we can look at pictures that my grandfather had of his horses back then, and they look good even by today's standards.
He was really,
Wow.
really short. Like
Yep.
Kevin's a giant in his family. They're all
Oh,
pocket,
really?
palm pocket size. They're really short.
That is
So
so
my
funny.
grandfather was 5 foot. His
Yeah.
dad was shorter than that. I don't
We
know
have a
the
picture of
exact-
him on a horse, and it looks like this giant horse, but I'm sure it wasn't that big.
It could have been some good jockeys.
Yeah, it was larger than life, though.
But I'll tell you, they were both my grandfather and my great grandfather were both a giant of a man in terms of the bravado that they had and the stories that I've heard, and with my grandfather I've witnessed.
Awesome.
He's taken guys down at the knees that were a lot bigger than he was, and when he walked in the room, everyone listened. But getting back to the ranch and stuff, they had some crops and farming that they did as well to utilize all the acreage and to diversify. One of my favorite stories that he did in terms of being creative and entrepreneurial is he worked out a deal with a large ranch in Texas to winter their heifers in Cuba and then ship them back because of climate differences. They could continue to grow and do better in the tropical climate during that part of the season, that part of the year, and then ship them back. Different things like that, which anybody who makes something happen has to find unique ways in order to succeed. So,
and that was the largest privately owned ranch in Cuba.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before everything happened.
Yeah, my grandfather had the largest privately owned ranch in the country at the time.
I mean, 5,000 acres, that's no joke.
On an island? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That is a big deal on an island.
Yeah.
Like my buddy has 3,000 acres, and like it takes us a while to drive through. So that's a lot of land. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Sadena had touched on being a generation removed. The generation before her father, lost their family ranch. The generation before my dad,
So it's basically the same generation. Yeah.
lost the ranch, not because of mismanagement.
Right.
When Castro took over and everything turned to communism, nobody owned anything. Communism takes away all individualism, all individual rights, all individual ownership.
Tell them how it happened.
So I can't make it sound any more dramatic than what it really was. And this
I'm
sounds
sure.
dramatic because you think we're in America. We have rights. We have property rights. Somebody can't just come and say, okay, you don't own this anymore. So that's why this sounds so dramatic coming from our perspective. But two guys in a military Jeep rolled up to the ranch house one day, knocked on the front door, and said, just so you know, you can stay here.
Yeah.
You don't own anything anymore.
Wow. Yep.
And to tell you how
so sad,
how much it really came down to individual ownership. There's a long story that we won't get into about how my family ended up being able to leave Cuba, but before they could even get on the plane, my grandmother had to give up her wedding ring. They literally left with the clothes on their back. They couldn't even keep the wedding ring. So, the generation before our parents went through individual and different, but ironically similar paths of losing the family properties that came beforehand. And so now we're kind of starting over from scratch with the same love and passion that our ancestors had. And in America and in Florida in particular, it's very difficult to try and start a ranch from scratch. Property,
land is valuable for development here now instead of raising a food source. I mean, it's just that's the way that it is, and the way that it's getting more that way every day. So.
I mean, even where you guys are, there ain't not a lot of ranches out there because it's so like you can go to lots of places like Arcadia and all these other places, and we're talking about like exponentially lower price per acre.
Yes, but it's climbing. It's climbing.
It's climbing, right?
It's crazy. Like
it's climbing there too.
It's so bad.
Oh, big time, to the point where people can't buy a large tract of land and make it feasible economically to actually work it. So the people, for the most part, that have these large, ranches still or have purchased large ranches are some sort of investment entity, or it's a family ranch that's been passed down, and unfortunately they haven't lost it to taxes yet or inheritance taxes. That's also an issue that we know a lot of families have lost their homestead ranches over in Florida. So there's a lot of factors that make it very difficult to do what we're trying to do. So you got to have a passion and drive, because Kevin, I mean, he just is like, make a way, make a way, keep pushing forward. And I'm like, are you sure?
Kevin's out there with his machete. He's like,
he's the man. Like,
these things up.
Yes, exactly.
Well, could not do it without her support. So it's a team effort.
What is the quote from Tom Shea? Behind every or every society and every
you would know.
It's something
means
like
one thing.
one thing and one thing only, and that is a woman that would never let them quit or something like that.
Right.
Like it's almost. And we had Tom Shea. This guy, he's a Navy SEAL. We had his wife on. She's amazing.
She's great.
And like technically, it's possible to do something this ambitious. And I don't say ambitious in the sense of like ambitious, like, oh, you guys are trying to make millions. Obviously, I mean ambitious in the sense of like, what a challenge it is, because it's definitely, it's not like we're talking about, something where the margins are very, very competitive, and there's still a huge group of people that are totally okay with, CAFO meat, like, and they couldn't care less, because it's just one other part of their whole Mickey D's, value meal, which is, it's like, it's this food, like you said, Kevin, the other day when I was at the farm, when I was at the ranch, like you were like, yeah, like people have gotten disconnected from their food. Like you go to the store, you get your shrink wrapped meat, your shrink wrapped vegetables, you get, your combo, and it's this thing that goes inside of you, but you don't understand like what goes into like how it's raised, how it's, and all that. And so, um, that's why we're doing this series. We're literally, we had John, my buddy John, he's got chickens and pork, and we have you, and we want people everywhere to support this, because it's not like they're not you supporting a company like Ebar Cattle Company is not like, it's not like you're doing community service, and they're not a charity case. Like this is for your own good, because if we don't support people like you, we are going to lose all control of our food supply.
Yeah, exactly.
And whenever anybody wants to squeeze a population, you mess with the food supply.
Yep.
And if you have those relationships in place, and even God willing, if you had the means, maybe some chickens of your own, so a garden of your own.
Doesn't have to be crazy, but just having those relationships.
Yeah, and learning a little bit about it.
Yeah, with COVID, that's what happened. So many people realized when the food supply was interrupted, they're like, oh no, what do I do now? And it's one thing to go plant some lettuce and some beans and some things in your garden or in a pot or whatever you got to do. But it's another thing to raise a cow, to raise a protein source, to have
you can't just do that
yourself. Like it is not, that's not something
very complicated.
Have the ability to do or know how to do or even want to do. And it's not something you can just snap your fingers and make happen. So when everything got interrupted like that, people were like, where do I go? If it's not at the grocery store, what do I do? And, that's where we're like, hey.
It's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah,
exactly. It's so wild, right? Everybody's so comfortable.
Yeah.
Like they don't think about it. They just go get their little steaks and
they're like,
it just magically appeared there.
It was bad. But it's not just about convenience. It's about creating something that is actually good for people's bodies, and
exactly,
and it's good for the cattle, and it's good for the earth.
The environment. It's good for. It's like trying to do everything right, not just do it, but do it right. And I mean, I'm talking about this is his wheelhouse, but so.
Well, that's actually that's a good segue. That's a good segue because we want people to educate themselves, and Kevin, we've had a lot of conversations of like all the shenanigans that producers engage in, and whether it be labeling, whether it be marketing, and even people who are trying to. What'd you say?
I mean, 1 second. It's not the producers that are engaging in the misinformation. It's
you mean the distributors, probably?
Distributors and the packers. That's where the problem.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to say producers because the producers are you. Like the people, once it gets to the packer, even like a lot of the stuff is happening with the meat packing, but like with the labeling and the marketing that a company like that, let's say a company that gets their meat from New Zealand or South America, it could very well be great grass-fed quality meat, grass-fed, grass-finished. But at the same time, we're flying it from over there. And we have so many ranches here in this country who are doing good practices, treating the steers well, and from beginning to end, there's only like one bad day in their life, and that's when they go turn into ribeye. So like there's a lot of people that are trying to inform themselves and are still being misled. So Kevin, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the things you've seen and some things that people, because you've told me stories just from customers you've had, some of the ways that people are still being misled, even with this whole like a little bit more attention being drawn to like regenerative farming and grass fed and grass finished and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it starts with the mislabeling, if you will, and then trickles down into marketing. Mislabeling is what is meat? Is something that's lab grown really meat? We got to ask ourselves that.
Right.
What is the definition of meat, right? So that's a problem that we're working on, and we're trying to take steps, through legislative efforts and so forth, to make sure that the public is making informed decisions and not being misled. That's where the marketing comes into play. But another thing I think you might be alluding to is, as more and more people are becoming aware of the misrepresentation of our major food supply sources, they're looking for local products. And the packers are aware of that. And they're realizing, okay, we're losing a certain percent of our market share, and they don't want to lose anything. So they have a lot of money, they have a lot of ability. And what a lot of them are doing is they're creating offshoot businesses that they advertise themselves as being a local direct-to-the-consumer product. But the fact of the matter is, they're the ones who are shipping it directly to you, and it's coming right out of their packing facilities with all the rest of their food that is being packaged and shipped out for standard distribution. They're trying to capitalize on the individuals that are waking up and realizing, I don't want to just buy from a grocery store where I don't know where it came from.
I wanted to say organic. I wanted to say grass-fed or something like that, but there are so many, but there are so many ways, so many little loopholes that they can jump through.
Oh, totally.
Make it appear that it's something that it's not, and it's so frustrating because people are paying a premium for something that is really not what they're getting, and they're putting it in their bodies thinking that this is what it is, and it's not, and that it burns us up. It's so wrong.
And then it's the same vice versa. Yeah, it's the same the other way too, because like you could have really good quality stuff, and it's like you don't want to pay the dumb fee to just have the little pretty sticker, but it's still organic. It's actually probably even better, maybe regeneratively farmed and like higher quality. So yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just the game. They've got to play the game.
I wish people could see. We talked about family trees. Like, imagine we had like, on every package, like on the back, like a Tyson, Cargill, family
the
tree.
family tree.
You're not really getting this from Vega Farms, in Tampa. Like this is another Tyson or Cargill or whatever.
Yeah, and it's probably like a few, like everybody's getting it from the same few farms. It's all an illusion of choice. It's an illusion of choice, basically.
How they're able to make the grass-fed label on it, but it's only like this certain short window of time that,
So everything right now is geared towards the benefit of the major packer. And this goes into, I'm not trying to get into like political type of stuff.
He's into way more than just our business. This guy is doing he's helping to write legislation.
No, but I love this stuff. He and I talk about this stuff all the time.
He's everywhere all the time. It's insane. I don't know how. I don't know. It makes me tired.
I'm the Florida Georgia representative for our region for the United States Cattlemen Association. I was appointed to that just a couple of months ago, and that's allowed the opportunity for me to learn a lot more in depth about the legislative things that are going on, mislabeling, the way that everything is run, if you will. But what I was getting to is that everything is really directed towards whoever can supply the most volume and for the demand, and they're not looking for individuality at all. And so when we talk about organic, you mentioned, we talk about grass-fed. The USDA rules state when it goes into what does grass-fed mean, it states right on there, can have been fed grain at one point in time, can have been in feedlots. Organic, the definition for organic by the USDA also says can have been in fed grain, can have been fed and housed in feedlots at one point in time. They leave those loopholes so that the major packers, if they want to capitalize on this market, hey, look, we got XYZ grocery store that's going to buy so many tons of beef from us at this price point, which is a lot higher profit for them, if they can produce grass-fed organic. They take the same product They package it up, they ship it out with a different label on it. Grass-fed, oftentimes.
And that's what we're competing with.
Oftentimes for grass-fed, oftentimes for grass-fed, the statistics show that if you're buying grass-fed beef product in a major grocery store for a major chain, 80% of it is non-American, born, raised, grown product. They were shipped in from another country because that is their primary source. They don't have all the other, corn and silage and other vegetation options to feed to the cattle. They're primarily on grass. So they're able to ship that in at a much lower price because the value of the dollar. So they can pay less to somebody in Mexico or somebody in Australia or Argentina or Brazil for a product that's only been on grass, bring it in. But yet the American rancher is required to meet certain requirements. We're not allowed to put certain things into the animal in terms of, pesticides, medicines, and so forth. But those same restrictions are
not on
those
what's
other
imported.
countries.
No.
So
yeah, and then as long as it's inspected here, it's a product of the USA.
They don't know. You can look at it, but you can't tell. I mean, come on.
So that's where, so that's where all this misinformation stuff is coming from. So I said 80% of it isn't grown here. 10% of that remaining 20 is product that has been in feedlots and previously fed grain, but they changed its diet for a period of time. I can guarantee it's no more than 90 days. So it's still sitting in a feedlot, and they just, instead of bringing a grain, they bring in a forage mix and put it into the bunk feeders for a 90-day period of time, and then take that supply, process it, label it as grass-fed, and ship it out into the grocery stores. That's what we're competing with, okay? Grass-fed, grass-finished product has a whole different value. And because of those misinformation, misrepresentation, those games that are played, and you and I have talked about this before, we will not label our product organic because we're not going to play that game. Instead, when somebody asks me, is your product organic? I ask them genuinely, this is no attitude or to be antagonistic, but what would you expect from an organic product? What you expect from an organic product is exactly what I'm raising. I don't need a label on it to tell you it's organic. What I invite you is get to know us as your cattle producer.
Exactly.
Get to know.
Yes.
Exactly.
We don't want glyphosate. Like our biggest issue, at least I don't know if there's anything you could think of, but we don't want glyphosate in the plants, in the soil, or anything like any chemical fertilizers and things like that. Like that's just our biggest issue with that. And if you tell me that you're not doing that and you found different ways to do that, then and ways to kill the bugs that are like, causing us to grow a third eye, like then perfect.
Well, I'll give you a little example, and I alluded to this the other day when you're out at the ranch, but for fly control, one of the ways
this is awesome.
there are pesticides that you can spray and
pour on the cattle itself. Yeah. And of course there are
time lapse residuals and periods where as long as you wait so many days before you process, it's supposed to be out of the meat and all that kind of stuff.
It's got a half-life.
Yeah. But garlic is a natural product that is a fly deterrent. So what we do is we mix into the.
You gotta sweat it like they do though.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
She was like, I'm gonna put garlic out there. I'm like, no, you gotta eat the garlic. Eat the garlic. Eat the garlic.
We mix into mineral supplements because the cattle don't only get minerals from the grass. So there is mineral supplement, which mineral is just natural products of salt, copper, zinc. There's minerals that are good to go into the cattle. We mix in that mineral, garlic. That garlic goes into their digestive system, gets sweat out their bodies, and it deters flies. Yeah, it's repellent. Not to say you're never going to see a single fly out on our properties by any means, but
it is spring. There's flies everywhere.
There's a lot less, and the cattle are less stressed. That's what it's all about. The purpose of fly control is to make the cattle feel more at ease and less stressed. And so that's just one example of what you were mentioning and what we're contributing in terms of trying not to use products that aren't good for us to take into our own bodies.
I mean, you get
You know what it's like, my love?
Cheerios, right? I mean, that's there. It's the food supply everywhere, everywhere. Yeah. Sorry, my eyes keep darting away. I'm looking my daughter.
You're fine.
So
Yeah, for everybody listening right now, it's great that Sadena said that at the beginning, because they're literally recording now because her daughter takes her nap now. So she's keeping an eye on her daughter. But
oh yeah. I know how that can be in your
yeah.
sorry.
Well, when they were talking, I was just thinking, this is why we homeschool, because there are mass management tools that are used in schools because you have to manage such a large group, and it's not even like ascribing a certain like intent. It's not like everybody's evil.
No,
some of them are like, come on, you guys have a little bit more regard.
It's when you go back. The history is where you find the bad people.
Yeah, but even with this stuff too, like with the CAFO lots, like I think it's very unethical and all that, but like you can only do these types of really cool things that are like, a lot of these things are just not scalable, and I think that's okay. Like maybe some of them are to a certain extent, but not to the extent that we're at, where besides the fact that we're throwing away so much food, like let's not even get into that. But yeah, like these are the type of things, and this is why it's important to go local, to talk to these people. Like they want to talk to you about what they do. Trust me.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been so amazing. Like when you kind of open those doors. I mean, I'm a very private person. My daughter isn't on social media. Like it's not. That is just how I am, and I know that that's not the norm. Because I definitely don't judge anybody else. But it freaks me out a little bit. But when we opened ourselves up in our business and what we're trying to do, people come to us with questions and they're like, we've never asked anybody this before, but do you blah, 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 and how does this work and how does that work? And we're more than happy to answer. And it's kind of cool because they've never had anybody ask this stuff to before. And I did not realize, I really did, because I grew up, I guess, so connected to my food sources that I didn't, you don't name things.
You didn't realize.
Or beef or pork or chickens or whatever. If they're pets, you name them. If they're not pets, you don't name them, kind of thing. But when I went to the grocery store one day, and Kevin couldn't believe it when I came home, because I was like, this really happened, I promise you. And you mentioned you have a friend that raises poultry and does pork as well. So it made me think of this. I was in Publix, and I had bought a carton of eggs, and I was going through the checkout line, and the girl's like, I got to check your eggs and make sure nothing's broken. I'm like, oh yeah. And she goes, yeah, I can't eat eggs. I'm like, okay. Like having a conversation.
How old was she?
Oh, she was at least 16.
She's in high school.
Just, cute. One of the girls that works at the checkout. And she's like, I can't eat eggs. I can't, what they do to it. It's just so awful. And I'm thinking, okay. I didn't say, because what they do. They stick a needle in each egg and they abort the baby chicks. That's how eggs are made. I'm like, and there's a guy bagging, and he didn't say anything, and I said, no, you have to have a rooster to have chicks. And she's like, no, that's how they do that. And I'm like,
she asked, well, what's a rooster?
And she's like, yeah, well, what's the rooster for? And I'm like, you have to have a rooster and a hen, and then you have chicks. And if you don't have a rooster, they're just eggs. And she's like,
that was like
a massive red pill for you.
Well, we learned that. We didn't learn that long ago either. Remember when we were like looking into chickens like years ago? I was like, what do you mean you don't?
Don't you not need?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
They could not have it, right?
Well, yeah. If you don't have a rooster, if you don't have a rooster, then you're getting eggs.
That's hilarious.
You're getting
You know,
eggs
like
and chicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, right.
it's free food.
Yeah, it's
The
Right,
rooster is
exactly.
what creates the chick.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like what
That's
happens
what I
if you
thought.
don't milk the cow, like, and there's no like little babies. Like, it needs to get milked. Someone needs to milk that cow, and I will
Yeah.
gladly take it. I will gladly take your milk. Thank you. It's a mutual situation here.
But yeah, that's
Oh
and that's
my
the
God.
thing, right? Like we're dealing with the consequences of what happens when people aren't connected to their food anymore. Like just even the percentage.
Yeah.
I don't know where we were hearing it the other day, but the percentage of people. It was probably Bear Stream, who used to be ranchers and used to be farmers. It was far higher, even just a few generations ago.
Yeah.
Where now it's such a small.
It's like 2%
percentage.
or something, or 8%. I forget what it
Yeah.
was.
So because people aren't, 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Because people aren't doing it, and even on the small level, because if someone just does it for their own family, it's created the demand for mass everything, and so it's so important. So that creates ignorance, basically. So people are like, oh, it's not organic. Like they don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
Right.
it's a box that they check.
It's just a box that you
Yeah.
check with the little sticker, and so that's why it's so important and so great when people come to you with those questions, and that's that's what it's all about.
Gives you an opportunity. Yeah, it's an
Gives you an
opportunity.
opportunity.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, it's like most of the time.
We learned when we went out to Amish country. Remember?
Oh my gosh, we learned so much
We're
about
like, hey,
cheese.
Yeah. His mom's from Indiana, so.
Oh, we
Well,
were in
also-
Ohio. We were in Amish. Yeah,
It was the biggest
wild.
group of Mennonites in the country is in Millersburg,
It's
Ohio.
incredible.
Wow.
What was I gonna say about the oh, I mean, it's kind of like we've become so urbanized.
Right,
like most people nowadays are living in or around cities, and so it's really interesting to see like city dwellers who, like, for a political reason, for example, or because it's cool, they'll say like they're an environmentalist, but like they drive to work every day. That's all they do. They use all these electronics. They get their vegetables flown in from all around the world because they can't eat seasonally. Like there's only you can't get you can't get oranges in December, in a cold place, like or there's a million fruits for that. And it's like, and then they'll talk about I'm getting on my soapbox. I'm not gonna say it, but they'll talk about like certain things, and it's like you're getting mad about like a tar pit. You're getting mad about a tar pit that we're taking stuff out of a tar pit, but you don't even know. Like, for example, hunters are the best conservationists, farmers, ranchers, because they're connected.
Because you're connected,
And
so
they
you actually see what's going on.
They appreciate the animals. They appreciate the land. They take care of the land. If you don't, Kevin, you were the one who told me, like, and I just thought of it now. Like, if you don't tend to the grass, if you don't make sure that the grass is healthy, it will overgrow, and then it kind of like becomes, it kind of dies, right? Like it needs to be stimulated.
Yeah. So, I mean, vegetation, there's two ways it can go. You overgraze it, and you can create, desertification, where there's not enough ground cover. The ground's exposed, puts off, carbon and so forth into the environment. When it rains, there's just runoff because there's nothing to capture that nutrients. The other side of it is if you let it overgrow too much, it goes into a dormant stage, and that grass, when it goes into a dormant stage, puts carbon off as well. So I think one of the biggest misunderstandings, lies that is told about the cattle industry is tied to climate change and saying that cattle are bad for the environment. Cattle do more for the environment to help create oxygen, photosynthesis, purify water. We're in Florida, and there's large water shortages that are creeping up every day in the news and so forth.
More people, less water.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
And you can say, well, how is that? How does a cow do that? And without getting into a lot of detail, I'll just explain that when cattle are on a land growing naturally, you're not developing it. If it's an open land, the natural vegetation is creating more oxygen. Natural vegetation is absorbing more of the rainfall and filtering it into aquifers So we get clean water versus runoff that's
From
contaminated
asphalt and everything else.
into streams and gutters and so forth. The one thing people talk about with cattle is methane, and
Right.
and I'll tell you, and this is not talking down to anybody who doesn't know, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't know anything about cows. But just so you know, cows are not capable of farting. Okay, so that is not is not true. What it is
Horses, on the other hand, they do.
They can go hard. Those horses.
It's a thing.
The methane comes from cow burps. Okay, so it comes out from a different pen. And that's because they're ruminant animals. And, ruminant animal means you have 4 stomachs. They eat the grass. It goes into one stomach. It comes back up. We learned when we were little kids about farm animals chewing the cud. Okay, that's where that comes from. So, yes, they put off that gas. And I'm not saying that they don't. But if you balance that versus all the things that they do on the land and the cattle producer does with that land to help pasture management, to take care of the cattle, I will tell you the fact of the matter is cattle producers are much more closer to carbon negative or carbon neutral, if not carbon negative, than being a detriment to the environment. And that's a fact.
Absolutely.
So true. And didn't we saw like a thing of that? Because that's
Well, because
Like a
Will from I forget
but
Will's
also
last
about
name,
the water too. Like the like
about the runoff.
no, not the runoff, but they always say like it takes too much water.
Oh, but you're talking about the way they irrigate for monocropping. Yeah,
Right.
like how it's created like
cows
the
use
Dust
this.
Bowl was all marsh, that was all marsh before. Can you guys imagine like going to like Kansas and all these places and seeing like marsh everywhere?
No.
That's part of it. Like, like
Yeah,
the
it's like
right?
dust.
Yeah, like everything like and that changes the climate.
Yeah.
That changes the climate like but yeah, that's what that was. But I understand and I appreciate specialization, because that's like division of labor allows us to produce things. That's why the miracle of a pencil. We can buy a pencil and it's got this wood from here and aluminum from there and the rubber from there. But like the I hope that there's this trend where we go back to at the very least going more local. People are seeing the benefits of including, I know this sounds crazy, but plants that don't produce fruit, because there's a lot of plants that don't produce fruit and don't really have uh, a, a way to produce money for the farm, but they do so much for the farm and for the, like you say, the management. And a lot of people are doing that and they're learning. Like biodiversity is the name of the game, and if we lose the biodiversity, we shouldn't be surprised that the soil is dying, and that's why you have to give your cattle mineral supplements, because the soil is so devoid of nutrients compared to, I can't even imagine, even
soil's
50
crazy
100
too.
years ago. So yeah.
So, what would you, because obviously we're in Florida, but what would you say to those who don't live in Florida and they are looking for, that best quality meat that there is? What should they be looking for? What are the kinds of things that they should look for?
Yeah, questions they should ask,
Or
things
questions
like
they
that.
should ask, right?
If you don't live in Florida and you're looking for a type of product that we raise and you don't know where to go, or you're trying to find out how do I make sure that I am getting that product, that type of product, I'd say get to know the producer. Get to know the producer, ask them how they raise it, what do they put into their cattle, what types of feed do they give the cattle. Ask, uh, where they process their meat. Okay, you want to use a USDA certified and inspected processor. That doesn't mean that it's going through a Cargill Tyson company. There's local USDA inspected facilities, and we use one as well. As you get the answers to those questions, you can kind of determine, is this a person, an individual that is legitimately doing this themselves, or is this part of a big company?
It's not just about the slick website.
Yeah.
Don't just go to the website and be like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because
The website.
we absolutely know of some that they make themselves appear like something that they're really not.
Yeah.
And
They're not.
that's, We're never going to say anything.
On a website.
It happens in every industry. Everybody's got issues like this in every industry, you know. But
I'm not going to bash anybody in particular, but there are some big names out there right now that are advertising as direct to the consumer, ranch to table, and it's not even American beef, and they're sourcing it from other countries. A lot of that has to do with the currency value difference. I could buy a cattle, bovine. I could buy one from another country cheaper, have it processed there, and then have it shipped to me already frozen in cool temperatures for a lot less than it cost me to raise this animal. And in that case, those particular people are really, they're just brokers. They're meat brokers. They're not cow producers. They're meat brokers, and they're just putting together a story to market to people to get them to buy from them, and they're sourcing the product from somebody else. And those are the things that, again, I'm not faulting anybody for buying from people like that. I'm simply stating that if you want to buy from a local producer, you got to get to know the local producer to know that it's a local product.
Just educate yourself.
Yeah.
And most producers are going to be open and they're going to want to talk to you, but sometimes that may not be the case. But most part, people that are doing this on a smaller scale are just like the customer wants to be connected to their food. We want to be connected to the customer because that's how we can help them. That's how they can understand more about their food. And if they're willing to come to us and ask a question, then we'll definitely give them an answer, to the best of our ability. So, and I think there's a lot of small people ranchers out there that are willing to do that.
I know people across the nation. So if you're not in Florida, and Danny, you're asking this question because we're only shipping to Florida currently.
Right.
But if you're not in Florida and you want to know how can I get a product that is a local raised product where I'm at, contact me and I'll help you find an answer.
Awesome. Guys, this has been so amazing. I love it, and I hope everybody. Honestly, we're hitting them over the head with this.
It's important, and you know what? I think it's very relevant to what's going on, and I think most people are going to be more open than ever to start, just learning and hearing and just learning about this because it's so important. The prices in the grocery store are outrageous, so outrageous that you can't even justify the price difference anymore. You can just go to your local farmer.
Yeah.
Nice quality stuff.
It's growing. It's going to get even more. It's going to get even higher.
What happens? What happens when like commodity meat, like your typical whatever meat is $35 a pound for ribeye? That only happened for like a week. Imagine if it happens for longer. Like people like Bill Gates are not stupid. What was it? 242,000 acres that he bought.
Yeah, he owns the most farmland, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and then why are you buying all this farmland if you're, well, obviously it makes sense if he's gonna raise all the grain and all the crap that they're putting in the burgers.
Okay. Yeah. He's got an alternate plan, and he's heavily invested in fake meat. Exactly. He's heavily invested in fake meat, and that's what that land's going to be used for, and that's why he. Get off that.
And, people. We are very much. I hope people understand. Like, I don't think you guys should complain about it. I think you guys should go to your local rancher.
Take action. Vote with your dollar.
It's like, what do I care if Bill Gates is doing that? If that doesn't affect me at all, because I am like he's not. Bill Gates is a frail old man that if I punched him in the face, the guy would like just crumble. Daniel. I'm just saying, like, don't be afraid of Bill Gates because everybody's like, oh, did you see what happened here? And it's like, guys, don't buy into it. Buy local. And like, look, we've said this for a while, but I really want them to know now that we're serious now because we're like everything we're getting. The only thing that we're not getting locally is the buffalo from Central Nebraska buffalo and Icon Meals, which is still a small business. Yeah, it's still US. Yeah. So it's not, we got rid of our Costco membership. Nothing against you if you have Costco. It's just like in general, we decided to do that.
Well, you have
And
to vote with your dollar.
yes,
Like
it's the only
people
way.
want to complain about these big companies, these big corporations, but they still buy their products. They still, and I get it. I listen. I
Yeah.
shop on Amazon because it's very convenient.
Yep.
I know that I am a slave to Amazon. I'm very aware.
It's true.
And so, and I get it. Like this is how they do it. They always dangle the carrot. They give you a convenience. They sell you, and then they own us basically. So, but little by little, and I get it's daunting. Even when we first got rid of plastic, we were like, oh, forget it. Everything's plastic. It's not gonna happen. But little by little, you go changing, right? So just start with the meat. It's a great place to start, honestly.
Yeah.
Your meat. That's the best place to start.
And your produce. I mean, local, even if it's not. I know that there's places in Dover and Plant City that, I mean, John tells us, like, the pesticides are crazy, but like some of these places, if you talk to them, like you said, hey, how do you guys manage bugs and all that stuff? Like, and just go to them.
I can't imagine it's hard in Florida. I feel like even when I've tried to start a little garden, everything rots.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So it's hard, like the bugs, even my butterfly, my milkweed. The bugs killed my milkweed last, and I'm
But you found that solution. Right?
Yeah, this year I'll use. Well, the thing is that since I'm raising butterflies, I can't use a pesticide. It'll kill my caterpillars. So, ladybugs. Someone told me it was too late in the season, and there was a lack of ladybugs.
Yeah. So guys, we can't forget before we say goodbye. Where can people find you online? And anything that you guys want to promote or you're working on, please share it with our audience.
We have a website, ebarcattlecompany.com. You can shop for all the products that we sell. There's a a la carte option. People constantly seem to kind of mix up, thinking that we only sell packages or we only sell individual pieces.
Yeah, you can buy a ribeye. You can buy, 10 ribeyes, or just ground beef, like whatever it is you're looking for. Soup bones, like roasts.
Oh,
there's things that they're individuals, or you can add something to a package that that already exists. So however you want to make it up,
Yeah, so we do have bundles and packages, and there is some value discount for buying that package, and then there's individual options. We are on Facebook with ebarcattlecompany.com, and then also Instagram at ebarcattlecompany.com. I'm learning this stuff. I'm not real techy.
We'll share all of this stuff in the show notes.
We'll make it easy.
So so those are the places that we're out there and available to be contacted by.
There's a specific place on our website. There's an individual page where you can just put in a question to contact us, and you can get a hold of him on Facebook. He does the social media. I do the website, so we tag team that. But, you can definitely get a hold of us if you have any questions. And we're doing a special.
Yeah.
Yes.
Family.
We got our Fat Fueled bundle. Fat Fueled family bundle. We get either, what is it? Chuck roast. What else? What are the two other options?
A variety of steaks. Could be anywhere from sirloin tips, Delmonico, or ranch and Sierra steaks. So you get 4 steaks. You get a roast. Roast could be a rump roast, London broil, or a chuck roast. You're going to get a 2-pound package of our super beef, which is.
You just drop it. Super beef.
Just a 5%.
Yeah. You know my issue, Sadena? I never remembered super beef for like a month, and even my son was like, "Papi, it's super beef. It's called super beef." I'm like, "What's the organ grind? Like, it's super beef." Oh, okay. And I love Superman. I don't understand.
And then one package of our premium grind, which is your steak and roast cuts put into it. And then we have, you choose that bundle, you'll choose one of 3 options. You'll get added to that package. A 2-pound pack of keto grind, which is 60-40 blend, 60% or 85-15 lean grind, and 40% organ grind.
Delicious.
Stew.
We've had that.
or a package of osobuco. So that's going to be added to it, but you'll get to pick which one of those you want while supplies last, of course. But
Right.
we put that together just for you guys. You have a code, promo code, that if you use your promo code, Fat Fueled Fam, you get 10% off. After the discount, it's $149 and there's free shipping.
Yeah, free shipping.
Yeah, like you still get the free shipping even with the discount. Because
Yeah,
It's
that's
perfectly, it's almost as if Kevin is like genius. Get it cheaper for them, but still give them the free shipping. Yeah, no, it's great. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Guys,
I'm sold at free shipping.
talking about being sustainable and everything as well. We do everything we can to carry that from beginning to end. And one of the ways from the beginning of when we started talking about doing shipping that I really wanted to focus on was not using products that couldn't be reused. So our package, like we have a reusable thermal bag that's customized for Ebar Cattle Company.
It's not shipped in styrofoam.
It's not shipped in styrofoam.
Oh, I love
The
it.
ice packs that we use are reusable. So even once you've gotten your fabulous meat from us for years to come, you're going to have free ice packs that you can continue to use for going to the beach or anything else that you're doing. So yeah, we don't use styrofoam. We cut down on the products that cannot be reused, even in our shipping products. So.
Yeah, my daughter and I will pack it up for you.
Yep.
She helps.
Oh, I
That's
love
awesome.
it. It makes it even better because now I'll know that she was packing it up. Like, so proud.
No, we're just.
love it. Love it. Guys, thank you so much for spending time with us, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.